Have you ever wondered why animals in Australia grow so unusually large? And why do some creatures seem oversized compared to their relatives elsewhere? Well, Australia has always had this strange reputation for producing creatures that feel exaggerated, almost as if the continent is holding on to wildlife the rest of the world left behind. And there is actually a scientific reason behind it, one that explains why animals over there grow larger than almost anywhere else on Earth. By the end of this, you want a full video about the giant kangaroo mystery, because that one goes much deeper than most people think. As we all know, Australia sits at the bottom of the world, surrounded by ocean, and separated from every other continent for tens of millions of years. That isolation shaped everything, and when you look around, it almost feels like evolution here took its own path. While most continents saw their large creatures disappear over time, Australia went in the opposite direction as it kept producing giants. Long ago, when Australia broke away from the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, it drifted off on its own like a massive life raft carrying plants and animals that would evolve separately from everything else on Earth. Now imagine Australia drifting away like a giant floating laboratory, cut off from the rest of the world for tens of millions of years, with no new predators appearing. The life there developed on its own timeline, with the freedom to experiment, and it evolved in ways that would never anywhere survive anywhere else. And over all that time, those conditions created creatures that became stranger, tougher, and often much larger than anything found on other continents. Scientists call this phenomenon Foster's Rule, also known as the Island Rule, named after the scientist J. Bristol Foster, who noticed that isolated ecosystems often push animals toward extremes. Some animals shrink to survive with fewer resources, while others grow into giants when nothing is limiting their size. And even though Australia is technically huge, its long-standing isolation makes it function like the world's largest island, an island where evolution had millions of uninterrupted years to redraw the blueprint. Now combine that isolation with brutal heat, dangerous terrain, unpredictable seasons, limited predators, and food sources that appear and vanish without warning. In environments like that, evolution tends to reward the strongest and the most adaptable. Over many generations, animals that could withstand extreme conditions survived better, reproduced more, and gradually developed into larger, tougher forms. That's how Australia ended up with modern creatures that still resemble ancient megafauna. One of the most striking examples is the kangaroo. Most people think of them as cute animals bouncing through the desert, but Australia used to have a species so large it stood over 3 meters tall. The Procoptodon, the giant short-faced kangaroo. It didn't hop like modern kangaroos, but rather it walked, stomped, and it towered over early humans who once shared the land with it. Imagine hiking through ancient bushland and hearing heavy footsteps approaching, not running, but walking, echoing between the trees. That was Procoptodon. And here's where things get even stranger. Even today, in remote regions, people report sightings of unusually tall kangaroos standing upright, broad-shouldered, almost human in height. Some claim to have seen kangaroos that don't hop away but stand their ground, staring before slowly walking off like something that shouldn't exist anymore. While skeptics say these sightings are simply large modern kangaroos reaching the upper limit of their growth, others believe it might be leftover traits resurfacing through evolution. And whether that's true or not, giant kangaroos remain one of Australia's most fascinating mysteries. But the kangaroo is just the beginning, as Australia also has spiders big enough to cause a full system shutdown in anyone afraid of 8 legs. The giant huntsman can stretch across a whole wall. The bird-eating tarantula can lift small lizards, and the funnel web spider has fangs strong enough to punch through leather boots. Even stranger, fossils show evidence of ancient Australian spiders that were even larger, capable of spinning webs strong enough to trap birds and small mammals. So why would spiders here evolve such massive bodies? It comes down to something called ecological release, a process where animals grow larger or expand their behavior patterns when predators are scarce and competition is limited. With few predators targeting them, steady prey populations, and millions of years of stable forests and bushland, these spiders evolved in an environment where being bigger meant getting more food, surviving droughts, and dominating their territory. In other ecosystems, large spiders would be eaten by birds, reptiles, or mammals. In Australia, many of those threats simply never existed. To fully understand why Australia keeps producing giants, we need to look at how evolution behaves on isolated continents. Australia's long separation triggered something called the founder effect, when small early populations carry rare traits that become amplified over thousands of generations. If the first animals on this landmass happen to be slightly larger or more resilient, that trait could dominate the entire ecosystem over time. And then there's the climate. In many areas, temperatures swing from freezing nights to scorching days, as water can be scarce for months and food can disappear without warning. In harsh environments like this, larger animals have an advantage. They lose water more slowly, maintain body temperature more easily, store more fat, and travel long distances in search of resources. Being big isn't just useful, it's a survival strategy. And there's predator pressure, or rather, the lack of it. Historically, Australia had had fewer apex predators than other continents, meaning many animals evolved without needing to stay small or fast to avoid being hunted. When predators are few, animals have the freedom to grow larger without being at constant risk, and over many generations, that slowly transforms the entire ecosystem. However, one of the clearest examples of this evolutionary pathway is the perentie monitor lizard. This reptile can exceed 2 meters in length, sprint at high speeds, climb almost anything, and deliver a powerful bite. It's believed to be the closest living relative of the extinct Megalania, a monitor lizard so enormous it made Komodo dragons look small. While Megalania went extinct thousands of years ago, the perentie lives on as a modern echo of that ancient era. And in remote regions, locals sometimes report seeing lizards far larger than documented ones, suggesting that evolution may still be nudging them toward larger sizes even today. Then there's the saltwater crocodile, the largest living reptile on the planet, and Australia has some of the biggest individuals ever recorded. These crocodiles can reach over 6 meters long and live for more than a century. With almost no natural predators, they dominate rivers, coastlines, and swamps. Every part of their lifestyle, slow metabolism, high strength, abundant prey, and vast territory, encourages them to grow for decades. In remote northern waterways, people claim to have seen crocodiles even larger than scientific records, sliding through murky water with the quiet confidence of an ancient survivor. And then we have the cassowary, a creature the size of a small horse, capable of sprinting through dense rainforest with incredible power. Each foot carries a dagger-like claw sharp enough to slice through thick vegetation. The cassowary isn't just large, it's prehistoric. Its size and strength come from Australia's ancient environments, where being tall allowed it to navigate dense plant life and defend valuable territory. Everything about this bird feels like a relic from a distant age, preserved because Australia's isolation shielded it from extinction. When you look at all these creatures together, the pattern becomes obvious. Australia's animals didn't become giant by accident. They grew this way because the continent has conditions that most places on Earth lost a long time ago. It stayed isolated for millions of years. The climate is extreme, predators and competitors are limited, and evolution here kept moving in its own direction. Scientific ideas like Foster's rule, ecological release, and the founder effect all play a part, pushing many species to grow bigger, tougher, and more resilient. Australia didn't just preserve ancient giants. In many ways, it kept creating new ones. And if you still want a full breakdown of the giant kangaroo mystery, the fossils, the sightings, and the modern explanations, just say the word. That topic alone could easily fill an entire documentary. As for the rest of Australia, the real question isn't why these animals became giant, but rather, what giants are still out there, hidden far beyond the towns, roads, and even places humans rarely visit. For more videos like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and let us know which mystery to uncover next.